This is The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. Whether you're a seasoned real estate expert, a first-time home buyer, or if you're simply passionate about hearing small business stories, this is the podcast for you. Join us as we dive deep into the world of real estate and beyond.
Today's sponsor is State 48 Roofing. Keep your roof sexy with the #1 most referred roofer in all of Arizona. They also do free home inspections on your roof. Reach out to State 48 today for all your roofing needs. Welcome to episode 52 of The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. I am your host, Janine Igliane, with my co-host, Ryan Hatcher. And our guest today is Paul Stratton with Stratton Inspections. You are the founder, the owner, the big dog of Stratton Inspections, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Thanks for being here with us. This is actually our second time having on the podcast, but I wasn't there the first time. So I'm excited because this is new to me. I get to interview you and hear all the stuff. It'll be even good. Even though I did listen to your episode, I did listen to it.
Well, and I'll say this too. I've known Paul now for a couple of years, not long enough.
Maybe three or 4 years.
Not long enough, but I will say he's one of my favorite humans just because he's always smiling, even when he's stressed. He's always trying to do good stuff and bless other people's lives. So,
well, and on top of that, you're great. You and your company, your team members are phenomenal to work with when it comes to doing home inspections. So a home inspection is a really important part. And for someone listening, they're like, what is that? When a buyer goes under contract, we highly advise that they have a home inspection done. And you guys are going to check everything inside and out about that home so that that buyer has a full understanding of what's going on with that home. And any significant repairs that are needed, then we can negotiate with a seller to have those done.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yep, 100%. Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's certain things we can't see, but for the most part, anything we can see, we really try to do our best to call it out if it's a deficiency or even just educate the client about what it is.
Well, and I think one of the things that you do really well, again, you and your team, is that you educate them, but you don't present it in a scary way. Because sometimes that can happen, right? Where a buyer can hear an issue and it can scare them and want to back out and cancel. Something I think, so you guys do that really well, kind of managing expectations and what does that look like? But the other thing I would say is that no home's perfect. Even brand new homes have tons of issues, right? So
yeah, like homes are like people. Nobody's perfect. No home is going to be perfect, even new builds. And I like the fact you brought up communication skills because in our industry, I think it's so important to communicate properly.
Yes.
Because you can scare somebody over nothing.
Totally.
Literally. Yeah. But you also have to educate them so that you have the information they need to go forward. But yeah, I think in our industry, I think one of the most important things is communication properly.
For sure.
Well, and sometimes they probably should cancel because it's got major foundation
or
something, right? Which is the purpose. But a lot of times they get scared for things that aren't really that scary in perspective. And so in the inspection, you're covering all these things, but really it's about this much that they need to be concerned about. And then how you explain it is everything.
It's funny because I actually interviewed an inspector not too long ago, and there are some awesome inspectors out there. But I just wanted to see what he would say in regards to a drywall seam crack. Well, he started to go into how structurally it could, be a bad thing. And I'm like, I don't know if you're my guy, because literally it was just a straight line seam crack where the tape joint was. And it wasn't anything really structural. It was cosmetic. I mean, a lot of times. And he blew it all out of the water. I'm like, he's going to scare the death out of somebody and steer him away from a potential dream home. Yeah. And so you're 100% correct.
Yeah, and a lot of times that is caused by, let's say, the HVAC company who's up there working on the equipment. They just stand in a different place, and it just makes it shift just slightly,
You have vibrations from the AC unit. You have hot and cold air temperature
heat over
differences.
Time.
And so, all sorts of things can cause that. So,
I feel like just going on so many home inspections, I've learned so much that I'm always going back to my husband. We need to look at this. We need to make sure this is good. It's always like a good reminder, which actually... well, before I go into that, because I want to set up the audience, if they're listening, to talk about really what does a home inspection look like? Like, can you just explain that? What can someone expect in terms of what are you going to look at? What is the report going to look like? Like, just set the stage. What does that look like?
So you said the word expect. And we want to set people's expectations because sometimes people can over-expect what we actually do.
Yes.
Over-inspect our inspector, right? And so our inspection is limited to what we can see. We can't see inside of walls. We're not moving all the insulation to see what's under it and all of that. But it's not limited either. Like if we fill up bathtubs, we use thermal imaging where we need to. We drone if we have to, if we can't get on the roof. So even though our inspections are limited, we use every tool we can and every means possible to find what we can. But, you know, we can't determine if there's a leak in the roof if it hadn't rained for 3 months either, unless we see a stain.
Yeah.
So we like to set people's expectations that a home inspection isn't a warranty or a guarantee, but it does give you the information you need to feel comfortable moving forward or not with the home.
Can I also say this, and correct me if I'm wrong? As an home inspector, you're a generalist, right? You're looking at all things. And sometimes, like I would tell my clients, you may call out, hey, this could be an issue with your pool. This could be an issue with your roof. And then they have the option to then bring out an expert in that field. Is that accurate?
Exactly. It's like a doctor looking at your shoulder and he doesn't know what's going on with it. He just knows you're hurting in a certain spot. So he orders an MRI. And then pretty quick you go to a surgeon who's a specialist in repairing it. So we're like a doctor, you know, that can look at something and see that it's not right and then refer you to the specialist.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you. I think it's important that we kind of lay that foundation. Sometimes I feel like we assume that everybody knows what we're talking about and not everyone knows, you know?
Well, here's something else too. Right now, a lot of our clients are going the new build route. And you guys do new construction inspections too. So talk about the different phases of that process and when you think it's wise to inspect.
New builds are so important. Buildings are going up fast. You know, you're only as good as your contractor. Every contractor, I don't care if they're a professional, they're going to make a mistake or miss something. So it's important for one, they do have an inspection from the city official, code enforcement, things like that. And they're very valuable. They have a superintendent, the builder usually does, who catches a lot of stuff. But we're another set of eyes on the property. We're not there to diss the builder because no home's perfect like we had talked about before. But we're there to, you know, be in the best interest of the client. We are finding a lot of deficiencies with building. Not because the builder's bad, but because that's just part of the building process. And so I think it's very beneficial to the buyer because they want to move in the home and feel comfortable and be happy. And if they have a bad experience in that whole process, they're going to have negative feelings about the home.
Well, and I would say, and kind of to your point, Ryan, a new build, it's so important to have your inspections along the way because different things can be caught at different stages. So you guys do like a pre-drywall inspection. One
of the most important.
Yes. And if someone maybe doesn't put the closet where it's supposed to go or a wall, I've seen all of that. That can be really hard to correct.
And I want to talk about that because I have personal experience about this, and this is good for our listeners. When we were building our house, I chose not to do the pre-drywall inspection, which means it would cover framing and rough plumbing, rough electrical, and HVAC, right?
Skeletal, yeah.
Well, I have two rooms in my home that do not get great airflow in the summertime when the AC's on. And I think that there's something going on inside the wall where maybe something's crimped or something, and it's just not flowing very well. That could have been resolved if I had done the inspection then.
Totally. We just did an inspection not too long ago. A couple of years ago, actually, a client called me to come over and said his kitchen was not getting air. So I went over there. Sure enough, there was no air coming out of the register. So I didn't know if it was blocked or not. It had already been drywalled. They were past their warranty inspection already. Come to find out, there was a kinked line inside the wall that they had to tear out the drywall.
Yep, so now you're tearing out drywall.
Fix it. Yes. That's why they weren't getting any air.
Yeah, well, and I have two stories about that that had these buyers done the inspection. This would have been found. It was actually my dad. He had been living in his house for a year and just had insane AC bills, and just had moved here from California thinking, okay, well, this just must be life in Arizona, right? But the AC company, everybody's coming out saying something's wrong here. Long story short, found out there was absolutely zero insulation in their attic. Zero. Crazy? So their entire house has just been going out, and the city signed off on it, everybody. So it was totally missed. But had they brought in an independent inspector, that would have for sure been caught.
Caught.
Totally.
Right. And we see that quite often because literally one of the last things to go into an attic is the insulation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last part of the building process. And so we find that quite common.
Yeah. I had another one, Courtney, when they bought their house, there was no insulation in a certain section of the house. And again, no one, as in your average Joe, you're not going up there checking that.
Especially if there's difficulty getting into the access.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So pre-drywall inspection, super important. And then right before you close is another good one, right?
That's a blue tape type inspection,
So you're
where we're finding, pretty much blue tape items. The superintendent would probably find too, but we're doing a little more extensive inspection on that.
Yeah.
And then we just give the list to the buyer who gives it to the builder, and then they'll go
And most really good builders will actually welcome it, and they'll say thank you, because it makes their job easier, because now they're able to address these items before the buyer comes in and make sure that they get it corrected, and they can't see everything either. Right. And that's the other thing, right, is when, especially building a new home, you have multiple different people coming in doing different things, and you have one super who's supposed to oversee all of that, and that's a lot. So having someone come in, to make sure I think it's always been beneficial. If any builder's ever given me a hard time, that's like a red flag.
Yeah. So then you've got the 1-year warranty typically after the new build is done, where they can come back and fix stuff. So we often see you guys come out about 10 or 11 months into their home ownership, so that gives you time to get the report to the builder, and then they can shore up some things like maybe some cracked drywall. Right.
Because things settle, and within the year, things happen to the home. The house is moving a little bit. That's every home. Yeah. Cracked tiles, roofing stuff. So a warranty is huge, because everything's fixed for free. Your house gets restored back to its new self again, and then you can go on from there. Yeah. I think it's money well spent. And whenever I've bought a property, I've always had it inspected. And I just think in any of my clients, in fact, I had a family, mom and dad, their daughter was buying new build, didn't want to have an inspection. The mom and dad were like, we're having a home inspection on our new build. Found like significant things. Actually, it was Noelle who did it. She's awesome.
She is.
She did mine too.
Found significant issues. And the mom went back to her daughter, you got to do this. I'll pay for it for you. Yeah. And so she had hers inspected too.
I mean, even if I'm the listing agent on a resale, I still expect the buyers to do it, because it's that important. Sure. But so cost-wise, usually around what, $350 to $500, depending on the size of the house.
Depends on the size of the home. Yeah. Yep. Literally, I would say $350 to $600 somewhere there. Okay. On the size.
And then you've got.
And then you have custom homes that are a little different too. Yeah. They might have a bathroom in every bedroom, washer and dryer in a lot of areas of the home. So
it just depends.
Right. Pricing.
And then the old termite inspection that usually comes with it, right?
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll sub out the termite inspection so that they're there while we're there as well, and then you'll have two different reports: the inspection report and the termite report. Yep.
So I've known this growing up in the Midwest, that termites scare people to death in certain areas of the country, but here it's not as big of a deal because they're subterranean, right?
100%.
Yeah. So they're not
stay that aggressive here, but you still got to get them treated, because they can over time do some damage.
And they say every 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
depending on how much water they put in the chemical, right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
True.
How much they water the chemical down?
Yeah. Totally. So Paul, I want to know, because I don't know this, so I'm actually excited to hear this. How did you get into this business, and why?
Wow. I didn't know what a home inspection was in 2006. I had no idea there was an occupation called home inspection at all. So my brother, actually, he just passed away a few months ago.
I'm sorry.
It was a rough one, but
I bet.
He's kind of one that got me into home inspections. I owned a landscaping business in Utah, and that was going fairly well, and I just kind of wanted a side gig on the side, another business. And so he goes, you should be a home inspector. I'm like, what's that? And so I researched a little bit, right down my alley, because I'm in the construction world anyway. I grew up doing construction. I was an electrician before. And so I went to school in Vegas, got certified to be a home inspector, and started my business in 2007. Right when the economy crashed. It was just taking off too. My inspection
You're like,
business
I'm just
was
getting going.
Well.
Yeah.
I did some side inspections with my landscaping company, and went through a hard divorce and ended up moving here and restarting over. And it kind of grew ever since then. But it was a good time to start.
I bet.
Believe it or not, in 2008.
Yeah.
Because everybody's jumping in. I had nothing to lose because I'd lost it already. So I jumped into home inspections, was lucky to get one a month, and grew up from there.
I love it.
It was total blessing I stayed in it.
I love it. Can you tell us what your business looks like today? Because I think you do it. The reason why I ask is I think you've done it really well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So today we have 11 inspectors, 12 I think counting me if I count myself. We have 5 office staff and a phenomenal team. Like I've been very picky in choosing inspectors and office management. And I can only go so far alone. And without a great team like you all have, the sky's the limit if you have a good team.
For sure.
Because it's not about you anymore. It's about all of us. And it's not me. It's all of us. It's the Stratton team. So
I love that. And what would you say are some of your core values as a team? Like what do you run your business by?
I think integrity is one of them. Commit. If you commit to something, do it. Keep your commitment. Tell the truth. So if we break something, we need to call right away and say, hey, I broke this. Instead of putting it in the report like it was defective, we broke it. Hey, how can we fix it? So I think integrity is a huge part. And then, like we talked about earlier, properly communication. I worked for a company in Utah where they wanted us to create a culture where people relied on you alone. They didn't want to go anywhere else because they trusted you. They knew you were going to do a good job. They knew you were honest. And so it was so good that I worked for this electrical company back in 97 to 2002. And it taught me a lot of core values with that. Because if people trust you and like you, they'll. Yeah. Even if you're
Trust.
a little more expensive, they'll just go to you.
Absolutely. That trust is everything.
Right.
So talk to us about how you built the business. What were key things that you did to build your inspection business?
So I raised my kids pretty much alone. And so I had no choice, like I'd mentioned before, but to grow it. So it was interesting because I told myself once I get doing 6 inspections a week, and I was going to events like where I met you guys. I was going to those events, just really doing the grind, and then go back and pick up my kids from school and then write up reports at night. But I think once I told myself if I can do 8 inspections a week, then I can dump the landscaping, or I was hoeing weeds. I was doing anything I could in 2009 and 10 to stay afloat. And once I reached 8 inspections, I had to hire another inspector so that I could go get out and get more work. Because if I'm inspecting, I can't market.
Yep.
And so I basically gave most of my money I was making on inspections to another inspector so that I could go grow and get myself busy again. And I just kept going the back and forth, get that inspector busy, get myself busy, and go out and find another inspector and keep marketing. And that's kind of how I grew it. I just had to go from one inspector, get myself busy, hire another inspector, get myself busy, hire another inspector, get myself busy.
That's awesome.
That's kind of how it worked out.
So we've talked about how we met, right? So I think this is important because we were at a networking event for realtors, and you were there. And I remember we were kind of standing there talking and eating, and I said, "Hey, there's Paul Stratton. We got to meet him." And the reason why I say that is because I had seen you on social media, and I really liked your stuff. And I don't know who was doing it for you at the time, but I could tell you guys seemed really down to earth and personable and good. And so that's how it started.
Yeah, it was perfect timing. We were kind of starting to think we needed to look for a new inspector. So
well, I was so flattered too because I'd never had somebody approach me at an event. I mean, here I'm a vendor trying to approach you guys, and you guys approached me, and I was just really flattered. I thought it was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
No, and you've done a great job because when anybody that we refer out to our clients is an extension of us. Absolutely. And that's really, really important to us if we're going to put our name behind that. And so it's been great working with you and just knowing that you are going to take great care of our clients, and it's been good.
And we feel the same way because we like to team up with good agents and good teams as well because it makes our job easier as well, and you're right. We are an extension of you. Your client trusts you. Guys are the professional. Your client trusts you. So if we can help with that process and make it go smoothly, one of the people involved. Yeah. And at the end, your client's always going to come back to you guys.
Totally.
Well, and we were talking about kind of concepts to growing your business. Sometimes you want to work with this individual or this team or this company that is awesome, but they already have somebody that does what you do for now, right? So then what do you do? And I've seen so many good lenders and inspectors, even us with different vendors, you kind of go in thinking, okay, hey, I just want to build a relationship. I'll be their backup for now. I'll be plan B if you need it, right? And then at some point, you're the top person that they go to now, right? Because you've built that relationship. So you've seen that happen quite a bit.
Kind of like the Tom Brady at fourth string that made it the first string.
Yes.
He just kept putting in the work. And I feel the same way. Like, I never go into something like I'm going to steal this agent from this home inspector.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
If that home inspector is working for them, I'm happy with that. But I would like to cultivate a relationship in case something happens. Either the home inspector goes out of business or just can't handle their workload. I do want to be a backup.
Yeah. Totally.
And eventually maybe I'll hit the first string.
Yeah.
And so I'm always for the agent. If the home inspector is working great for him, I'm happy about that, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is making sure the agent and the client are taken
For sure. I love that so much, because I think we run our business that way too, in that there's enough real estate deals to go around. And so you don't need to poach anybody's client. You don't need to talk bad about anybody else. And oftentimes if someone has elected to go with somebody else, the way that you respond to that will make all the difference. And we've had many people come back to us second time around because they were unhappy that first time. And had we not responded or handled that well, it could have really ruined that opportunity. So like being kind, being professional, maintaining those relationships is so important, because you never know what's going to come back around to you.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like what fits too. Not everyone's probably going to like me or
Totally.
Stratton Inspections.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to, you can't expect to have everything.
Yeah. I've said that too, right? Different people are going to connect with different people differently. So making sure that you're okay with that. Like, I'm not for everybody, right? I'm not going to be a good fit for everybody, and that's okay.
You're not going to be everybody's jam. That was a learning for me, because I wanted to help everybody.
Yeah.
And I remember we were at a Keller Williams big conference, and I was just looking at all the different agents, every walks of life. There was one with tattoos everywhere, right? And then you had one that was probably 80 years old, still rocking it, and just a variety. And she said, "There's somebody for everybody."
Yep.
And I love that. So,
and everybody does things differently. It doesn't mean they're right and you're wrong, or vice versa. Right. But we all have our different paths, and we all have our success stories.
And I think we're at a point in our careers where sometimes the buyer or the client isn't a good fit for us either, right?
Sure.
And so 100%. We can choose, hey, you probably have somebody that's better fit for you.
100%.
I love that. Sometimes it needs to happen.
Sometimes you have to say, it's time to move on.
Peace.
I love it.
Right.
Okay, so Paul, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, if you're okay with this. You're doing something pretty cool. So and I love, by the way, that you kind of shared, you had some hard times. I think we all can relate to that, of having really, really hard times. And anybody who's successful in business, I guarantee you, is going to have a story of a time or two or three where they went through a really, really hard time. You're on the other side, and you're doing something really cool up north. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's been a really fun project. So I told myself, I think about 6 years ago, man, I'd really start to like building apartments, but I had no clue how to even start. I had to find the land. I had to find a good price on the land. So I was driving by the rodeo grounds in Taylor, and I saw this piece of property. And actually, my wife that I have now, she was with me. We were dating at the time.
She's pretty awesome too, by the way.
She is. She really is. Mm. Yeah, she's a lot of my success story too. And so I was driving by that piece of property, and I told her, I'm going to buy that piece of property. I'm going to put a saloon on there that's called the Rusty Spur, and just joking around.
It. Yeah.
Well, a year later, I found out who owned the property. A friend of mine owned it, and I called him and hounded him for 6 months to sell me that piece of property. So I bought the piece of property and got it rezoned for commercial.
How big is it?
It was an acre and a half, and with that acre and a half, it's just the stars aligned. There was a house right next to it that came up for sale that a neighbor of mine told me about. And so I bought that, and it made it 2 acres square. Nice. And I'm able to put 4 sixplexes on it.
That's awesome.
I've built and finished 1 sixplex and filled it. I've started another one. It's framed. That's where I'm at on that. And my goal is to have 4 or 5 in there. If I can get 5, maybe move my other house off.
I love it.
Mobile home. And so that's kind of how I started it. Yeah.
Were there moments where you thought, this is crazy? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, because I didn't think I could do it.
Yeah.
But I did it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So, I love it.
A little underconfident there, but it's built my confidence, and I was able to do it, and it's been a lot of fun.
So what was key to help you learn how to do it? Like, did you Find the right people.
Well, I built a home in St. George, so I knew how to general stuff. I had contractors that were buddies. I had people in place, and I just went for it. And that first building, I made a few mistakes, but it turned out really nice. They're custom apartments in Taylor, Arizona, right next to the rodeo grounds. And then I'm building another one, and from the mistakes I made on that one, and they're identical. They're all the same.
And they're long-term?
They're a farmhouse looking, 6-plex, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, granite countertops. And
for long-term or
really
short-term
nice.
rentals?
Long-term.
Long-term, okay.
Yeah, they can lease for a year, 2 years, however long they want. And I have some really good tenants in there that are clean, and it worked out.
That's so awesome.
That's awesome.
I love it. And it's a great investment for your future.
It is. It was part of my retirement because my inspection company is great and all, and owning a company, as you all know, it kind of allows you, when you get it to a certain spot, to go in and venture into other things. Yep. That's kind of what my plan is.
That's really cool. I love it because there was an element of risk there, right? Of like, this could fail, but you felt passionately about it and you were willing to take the chance. And I think that's one thing, we were just talking about this in our admin meeting today, like, I'll try it. If it fails, that's okay. We'll move on, right? We'll learn from it and we'll be better. But not being afraid to fail, I think, is a really key, important part of success. Taking the chance, if you feel passionately and strongly about it, and going for it. And also understanding, yeah, it may not work, but if it doesn't, I'll learn and it'll be better next time.
Right. And that's really not a failure.
Yeah.
You're learning from your failures is a success.
Totally.
You're actually succeeding. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
I may have failed at this, but I really didn't fail. I learned a
Totally.
lot from it.
Totally. And if you have that mindset going into something, it actually takes away all the scariness because you're like,
Totally.
it'll be okay.
I think there's an element of believing in yourself too. Like you can bet on yourself. You clearly did that when you started this company, right? You're like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to find a way. Not a lot of people have the guts to do that.
Right. And, bet on myself and prayed a lot.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So speaking of that, this is my famous question. I want to know this because I'm so curious what makes people, how people tick. What have been some non-negotiables for you or in your life? What are things you must do?
So we talked a little bit about it earlier. I think integrity. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you better make sure you do it because they'll lose trust in you. There's been times I've told somebody I want to do that I would do something, and then I'm like, crap, why did I tell them that? But I was already committed. I had to do it. I couldn't go back on my word. So that's a non-negotiable for me. Okay. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, make sure you do it.
Love that. Yeah. What else?
I think honesty. I think even when I tell my kids this all the time, even when it's hard, just be honest.
Yep.
Because people are a lot more forgiving when you're honest than if they catch you in a lie. And then
your trust is gone.
Trust back is almost impossible.
Well, and I think the truth always eventually comes out.
And I learned this through life experience. I've been dishonest before. I've told a lie to my parents or whatever. And so I figured out, you better just tell the truth even if it hurts.
Yes. I love that.
Good.
I love it. Well, what didn't we ask you that we should have asked you?
Oh, you asked me about books, if I like to read. So I forget everything I read, so I have to listen to it.
Yes.
I'm a hands-on type of person.
Yeah.
And
nothing wrong with that.
I like to read. I think a really good book is Outwitting the Devil. Have you guys ever read it?
So I just heard about
I'll write it
this.
down.
No, it's a great book.
Yeah, I've heard that it's amazing.
Yeah, you'll really like it.
What's it about?
It's kind of about how these negative thoughts can be instilled way back into our ancestry and how that transfers to us. So when I say negative thoughts, that could be Satan or negativity spirits or whatever it may be. And how that can get instilled and passed down through DNA to us and create issues that we have, whether it's anxiety, insecurity, lying, addictions, whatever that may be. It could have started clear back in.
Interesting.
So it's Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon. Yep.
Wow. I've heard of it before, but just recently it's come up again.
It's a great book.
So okay, I'm gonna do that one.
We do, we like to read books as a team and we like discuss them. And so we're always I'm always taking notes of good books. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that one.
That's awesome. Paul, who is your ideal client and how can someone reach out to you?
So our ideal client would be somebody that's buying a home probably. Also, we do pre-listing inspections. So if you're selling a home, I think it's a great idea to get it pre-inspected. I think it instills trust in the buyer as well. They're like, hey, man, this person even went and got his own inspection and had some things fixed before we went under contract.
And it's the same price, basically.
Same price,
cost, right?
yep.
Okay.
Kind of puts you ahead of the game, on the negotiation part of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so that would be one of our ideal clients. And to get a hold of us, I have an amazing office staff. Like, I want to really create a good experience from the minute they call to when the walkthrough ends. If they have a great experience, they'll love that home.
For sure.
I can attest to that because, every single time I've called to set up an inspection, if they don't answer right then, somebody's called me back immediately.
Right?
And every one of them is happy.
Yeah. It's like sitting in the Dutch Brothers line for 30 minutes because you enjoy the experience. Right?
Yeah. Right?
You can go somewhere else and just get it right off that. But you'll sit in the Dutch Brothers line for 30 minutes just to get a $10 drink.
So just yesterday, my daughter just got her license, and we go to the DMV, and I swear, every DMV I've ever been to, the person that's there, not all of them, but there is at least one person there that is just crabby.
They're miserable. Yeah.
Yes. It's almost like it's a requirement to have one person be a jerk there.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had her. But when I call your company, they seem like they want to be there to help me. Like, it's just, I just love it. So.
And that's like we talked about success. That's what I attribute my success to. Is
I love that.
Right people.
I'm only as successful as they are, and it's been really awesome.
Speaking of books, so there was a really good book that we read as a team. Or did we read as a team? I read it somewhere with it. It's called Who Not How.
Yeah.
So we're accustomed to being taught, even from kindergarten, that we have to figure out how to do something. We're tested on it, and we fail if we don't learn how to do something. What I hate about school is that. In reality, we collaborate, and if I can't do something, is it more effective for me, more efficient, to go find somebody who already knows how to do it really well and bring them on, or for me to go learn that skill and waste time from other things I could have been doing?
Exactly.
So that's a key point. It's who you work with, right?
You're exactly right. I had a question asked me, Paul, so you're the owner of the company. Are you the best inspector? I said, no.
That's a good question.
We all have our strengths.
I love that.
I'm not the best inspector. My other guys may not be the best inspectors, but we all have our strengths and weaknesses, which make us great.
I love that.
So we can all help each other out because you can't know everything.
Yeah.
So it's nice when we don't know something that we can actually reach out to each other and say, hey, what do you
Totally.
think about this?
Yeah.
Send a picture to the group.
Yeah.
And then we can all help each other out.
That is truly the benefit of a team, is working with others and letting their strengths kind of lift you up. Like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And we're only as strong as our weakest link.
Right.
And so it's super important. And I say this all the time, I'm very, very intentional with who I surround myself with and who I let in my circle for that very reason. So I love that.
Yeah. So do you guys have weekly meetings?
No,
as a
we would love to have weekly meetings.
So busy.
Usually monthly meetings. Okay. We have our meetings in the morning, like at 7. We have breakfast.
Nice.
And it's a good meeting when people don't want to leave after the meeting.
Yeah.
And that's when this.
For
we have
sure.
great synergy.
So do you find ways to collaborate so that you can share those, or you just have like a text group? How do you guys communicate?
We have a conference room.
No, between your inspectors about things you're learning, or
We have a group text.
Okay.
And so we can send pictures, and then everyone will comment on
Nice.
it. This is what I think, and so it really works out.
That's
good.
cool.
That's awesome.
So in essence, it's kind of like having a contractor in your own hands. I used to be an electrician, so any electrical questions come to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a couple of framers, some handymen, and so it's really been nice.
Your new build king and queen there.
Yeah, exactly. I got two framing inspectors now. Matt's one of them in Ben.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, I think I cannot say enough good things about you and your company and your inspectors. We love working with you. We really do think you guys are the best, and you take really good care of our clients, which is so, so important to us. So we appreciate you.
Thank you.
We love to end with a speed round. Are you up for our rapid fire questions?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's go. Okay. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Ooh, favorite food?
Chinese buffet.
Is it really? Do you have a good one?
No.
No?
they're all.
I'm always
gross,
afraid,
but I
right?
like
Okay. Do you have a favorite drink?
Coke.
Okay. Good old fashioned Coke.
Just plain Coke.
Plain Coke. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do you have a favorite sound?
I don't have a favorite sound. Maybe a horse.
Oh,
Okay.
I like that. Like
Well,
the neigh of a horse
the
or
neigh of
the.
a horse,
Well,
yeah.
wait,
Okay.
what about smell? Do you have a favorite smell?
Smell black ice.
Okay.
That's what's
Okay.
in my truck.
Okay.
How funny. What about a favorite podcast?
You guys.
Oh, you're too kind.
I always have fun with you guys.
Do you want to make an announcement? Should I say anything or let it be?
Oh, yeah, we're actually starting a podcast. It's going to be called The Vendor Voice, and we're starting that in a few weeks, and I'm really excited about it. I'm a little nervous, but I think it's going to be very great because we can podcast with you guys and you great agents and learn how we can better benefit the client.
I love it.
Educate them.
I'm so stoked for you.
Yeah.
And so we talked about this offline, but the key to basically any success in life is consistency, I've learned.
Yeah.
If you are just going to do what you say you're going to do and do it every day, or do it, when you say you're going to do it,
right,
and you keep doing it even when you don't want to do it, you're going to be successful at it. And what's the stat we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
For
So,
podcasts?
yeah, it's crazy how many, just to get over the majority of podcasts don't even make it past one episode.
Like 90%.
It's insane.
They see themselves on video. They're like,
And if you're a podcaster and you do more than 20 episodes, you are now in the top 1%.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
insane.
that is
Yeah.
crazy.
I think I was an
Yeah.
Alex
That blows me
Hormozy
away.
quote.
It is.
Yeah, so
It's
just
so
keep
easy
doing
to
it.
do, right?
Well, I was
But-
watching your guys' and I think they're awesome. They're clean. They're
Thank you.
educational.
Thank
they're
you.
fun. And that's, I try to use you guys as a mentor on that because I want to do mine right. And I feel like you guys have done yours right.
Well, I think
Very
this is
nice.
important to talk about real quick. So we all have limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, what do I have to share with people that are actually going to listen to it, right?
Right.
And then we just got over that. I don't know if you felt that way, but we just got over it and just started talking about stuff. Yeah. And anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Last but not least, you might have a good one for this. Favorite vacation?
Well, I think my wife's would be probably Hawaii or Fiji or something. And I like a little more adventure. So I think I'd like to go bear hunting in Alaska.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Let's go to Hawaii with our wives.
Okay.
And then you and I,
Okay.
I'm down.
Oh my gosh.
That would be like,
I just want to I want a photo with like a big bear skin after. That's all I want.
I want like an adrenaline story where we had to get
Right.
it before it got us.
Right.
well, you could do moose, you can do all kinds of stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm down.
Okay. I got a buddy now. I got a partner.
There you go. Well,
I need a
I'll
protector.
look at the photos. You can send me the photos.
Okay.
Thank you for being with us. We really
you.
appreciate it. We love working with you. We can't say enough good things. So you're awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Man.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. Make sure to follow or subscribe to the Home Selling Team on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify to stay up to date with our podcast.